Hi. So, I don't know what really to talk about, but Jessica Alba. Yes, Jessica Alba was really big when she first came out. As we all know, she did Avengers, or what was it, Fantastic Four, and a lot of other films. But two things I know her best in is the movie Idle Hand, which is a great horror comedy, second to Evil Dead 2 in my, categories of evil horror movie comedies. Okay? And so she's awesome in that movie. But besides that, a role I think that made her and paved the way for her was Dark Angel. Yes, Dark Angel was one of the best shows ever. Okay, and it wasn't just the best, it had so many actors that grew from that show. And you know them all in certain shows and certain movies now. And it's crazy how popular it was at the time. Okay, so I'm going to be talking about Dark Angel and why I think Dark Angel should make a return. And maybe bring back Jessica Alba as some kind of mentor in the new Dark Angel. Now, first off, Dark Angel was created in the early 2000s, late 90s, into the 90s, early 2000s. And Dark Angel featured Jessica Alba as the main character known as Max, or 0452. That was her code number in her barcode that was in the back of her neck. Now, before I get anywhere, I gotta explain the barcode and I gotta explain the military organization that she comes from. It's called a place called Manticore, which I don't think she finds out until later on in the show. But Manticore cloned a whole bunch of soldiers, children soldiers, and they all were trained in skills of fighting and military operations. And one of the best leaders was this kid named Zach. Zach became so good of a soldier that he became somewhat of a rebel, and he tried to break everybody out, and he got penalized for it. Later on, he comes back, but he's not, the same. He's been brainwashed, and then later on he's some kind of robot cyborg thing. But the thing about it is, it goes back to Jessica Alba's character, Max. She helped to break everybody out. That was a military kid that was in this place called Manticore. And they all went out in society and tried to live normal lives. Well, she found a way to be a package delivery person. Can't remember the name of the package delivery company or any of that. But she found a way to do that and still be able to do military stuff. Kind of like a superhero. She's a package delivery person by day, and she's fighting military crimes at night. And the thing about it is, it was post in a future that was supposed to be not too far from our own at the time. Now, some futuristic shows can do time periods. They'll be like, they'll pick a date in the future, but it won't be too far from now. Or they'll pick one that's way beyond the time period we're living in. And so we're going to wait for years for it to come. Kind of like when Back to the Future predicted 2015, and then when 2015 came, everybody's like, oh, whatever, what was this? We don't got this and that, like Back to the Future. But a lot of shows don't imagine that far out. And Dark Angel was one of them. Because it was still like I said, the early 2000s. It was like 2001, 2000. And in Dark Angel, the future was 2009, which already passed long ago. But in this post-future, humans are all like prisoners pretty much, and there's guards running around trying to stop them from doing things. And they have this machine called the Cypher, which is cool later on in the first season because she rides it and stuff. Anyway, she meets this guy because she's doing all this stuff. She's running around, she's fighting ex-soldiers that were part of the Manticore that broke out with her, but for some reason can't simulate into normal society. And she meets this guy that's on television all the time called Eyes Only. And Eyes Only is this dude who later on, I think he's in a cop show now. I have no idea what cop show it is, but You know, you see the photo, you tell me where he's from. But anyway, he was like her love interest, at the same time a mentor, protecting her secret and working to make her happy by finding the other people that escaped from Manticore that she missed. And in that, she finds Zach, like I said, guy's all messed up and brainwashed. He's one of them. Now, the one that's really interesting is Ben. And he was like really messed up in the head, Christian guy or something like that, because he killed himself in church, I think. And he's really crazy. He's like, there's war going on, and he's nuts. But then, after he dies, his brother, which is all these people are considered her family. That's how television is. But in military and their clones, they're pretty much all our family. But clones of different people. But anyway, this guy becomes Alex. And Alex was played, now both Ben and Alex was played by Jason Ackles. Okay, now you're like, Jason Ackles is Supernatural, the dude from Smallville. Before Smallville, he was in Dark Angel. Okay, Dark Angel was far better of a role for him because you can watch Supernatural and see some of the similarities of that character that he played in Dark Angel. So Dean is actually a character that he actually developed in Dark Angel, you know, because it was similar to show. He went around fighting things that was abnormal. You know, all these genetically altered clones in Dark Angel had superpowers of some kind, and they had to go fight them. But he ends up, once again, as her brother, clone. He was Alex was one of the more funny guys on the show. He didn't really care about nothing, but he was able to simulate better than his clone brother, who became a serial killer, ended up killing himself or something like that. It's been a long time since I watched this show, so trust me, I remember it well. I used to watch it all the time. And anyway, so he's all over the place, and then somehow he kind of like her love interest type of thing, and the eyes only guy's jealous. And then later on, here's the funny part: the eyes only guy gets handicapped, ends up in a wheelchair. Okay, breaks his back somehow. He's in a wheelchair. He can't move around, and he's miserable. Well, it's at this point that we had one of those shows, in between you're watching a show you like, and then throw in fillers. So in the filler episode, which is actually a callback to some other show that I liked. So let me explain. It's a filler episode because it's not normal. Okay, she's going out, she's looking for a soldier. She hears about this guy that can jump like 10 feet high, does all this crazy stuff, and you find out that it's what? Dwight from The Office. Yes, he started his career on Dark Angel. People don't want to talk about it. Maybe he might have did some stuff before, but the action, the stuff he did in Dark Angel, I think, once again, created the character that we know from the movie Super that he played with Ellen Page when she was Ellen Page, or he, she, whatever. Okay, but Ellen's irrelevant, or Page is irrelevant. Okay, but either way, this character he played in Dark Angel had the exoskeleton that the Mantis had, which was, if anybody knew Fox television shows at the time, Fox owned the Mantis, which was the first black superhero show, and he had an exosuit, and he was in the wheelchair and could not move. He was shot down in the LA riots or riots, at the time, and he was able to, jump around and fight crime with his exosuit, and he's known as the Mantis. Well, Dwight's character, I can't remember his actor name, but anyway, his character in Dark Angel had that exosuit. He actually had a tight-ass name too. I can't remember what it was. He was like maybe in 1 or 2 episodes of Dark Angel. But the thing about it was, his exosuit, he gave up to the guy that played Eyes Only, so he could walk again and get out the wheelchair and make Max fall in love with him again, Jessica Alba's character, and it's pretty cool. But if you ever watched the movie Super, once again, it's a callback kind of to his original character he played in Dark Angel. I'm telling you, this show had people that you guys watch, know, love, but now they're like grown up, they're different, and no one talks about Dark Angel and that they were on this show. And it was a good show. Okay? There's tons of other actors too. There's like these cool package delivery people. I can't remember their names, but there was a black girl on the show, and she was a good actress, and she played in other stuff too. Comedies, I think. But I can't remember what. Anyway, so later on, okay, later on in this show, things get a little different, and you start to realize that this Manticore place did a lot of experiments on other people and other creatures, because apparently Max has cat DNA in her as well as some other stuff, which is kind of odd, but it happened. So there's a part in season 2, she gets caught, you know, her and Alec and whatever other people that escaped from Manticore, and they go back and they're training and stuff, and she finds out that there's a secret place where all the genetically altered clones that were mixed with animal DNA are trapped, and she lets them all out. And at this point, some people thought it was going to be like Buffy, because Buffy was still big at the time, but Dark Angel was holding her like close to for a minute, just for a tiny bit. And she was going around chasing these clones too. But one of them comes out, which is supposed to be the very first clone, and that clone is Joshua. Joshua's half dog, half man, and like the pet of the guy that made all these clones. But at the same time, the guy who played him looks a hell of a lot like Elon Musk. But it's not Elon Musk, don't get me wrong. It's not Elon Musk. It's some other guy, but he looks like Elon Musk. Anyway, so this Joshua guy, he's very important because he was the first clone. He holds all the secrets to Manticore of what the original guy did. This was so later on in season 2, because in part 1, it was this organization, and you're trying to figure out who's running, you know, all these people were running the organization, who's the big dog. But in part 2, you find out, season 2, you find out that this one guy created everything in Manticore. But he didn't make these guys to be military soldiers. He made them for a different purpose. I'm not sure what the purpose was. I don't even know if they ever explained that or whatnot. But anyway, so you would recognize the guy that played Zack, and you would recognize the guy that played, well, Jensen Ackles played it. I mean, you recognize all these people I'm talking about. They even got this one guy, and it's back in season 1, and you know this actor. He's been in stuff like, what do you call it, Vampire Diaries. He was Doomsday in Smallville. Okay, that guy. He was a vampire type on Dark Angel, and he only lasted 1 episode or 2. And, you know, he was very impactful. His character was really odd, and, you know, he mutated. He gets white-faced and all this crap happens, and his veins coming through his face, you know, but all in all, pretty good. Jessica Alba's character, what made her impressive, she's a tiny little thing, beautiful little girl, and she can fight her butt off, and she's got these cat reflexes and all this crap, and, you know, badass with weapons and stuff. And for some reason, at every episode, she ended up on top of the freaking needle tower thing in Seattle. I forget how you say it, the needle, dang it. She would sit on top of there, because in that future, her post-apocalyptic future, the thing is destroyed, and no one goes there. And so she's sitting on this giant landmark to think all the time. You know, kind of like Batman hanging up on a rooftop looking down on the city. But hers is getting on the ground, on her butt, with her feet, you know, that position you do. And she's sitting there looking down like that at everything. So, I don't know why that happened in every episode, but it did. And it was still kind of cool. So, where was I going with this? I lost it. But anyway, so, Dark Angel has so much stuff going on. And when it comes to the cloning part, here's the thing. The show was popular to the point to where people started getting barcodes on the back of their necks. Okay? I hope you know where I'm going with this. And so they start getting barcodes on their neck, tattoos. It's kind of like with the show Into the Badlands. People start getting all these little stupid tattoos on the back. like the guy did, because he supposedly murdered all these people, so he had numbers and stuff. But when a show gets popular like that, for some reason people get tattoos of it. And this cool part about it was the show was only on for 2 seasons. But people put barcodes on. I had a girlfriend that wanted to put a barcode in the back of the neck, and she did. So that's another reason why I remember this show so well. And so, long story short, so Hitman, Agent 47. Yes, Hitman Agent 47. Now, you say, okay, yeah, he's got a barcode in the back of his neck. He is a genetic clone. But here's why it ties in with Dark Angel. It ties in with Dark Angel because of the fact that if you watch the movie, the scenes they show of little bald-headed kids walking around and trying to do all this stuff was actually from Dark Angel. It's all the things they show constantly in the first season is these little kids escaping from this agency called Manticore and running about trying to break free. And so they put it all for some reason in the movie Dark Angel, Hitman Agent 47. And you're like, huh? Like, why is this? I mean, if you're not a fan of Dark Angel, you wouldn't know, you wouldn't have cared. But me being a fan, I was like, whoa, wait a minute. This is Dark Angel. Like, what's going on? Right? They never talk about it. They never talk about Max. They never talk about Manticore or any of that stuff in Hitman. They just talk about Hitman. But it's kind of rare, really rare in film to take something from a TV show and put it in the movie when the two don't have nothing to do with each other. I mean, that's really rare. But the only similarity was the cloning process and the barcodes on the back of the neck. And even though Hitman's a video game, once again, in any of the video games of Hitman, they never talk about Dark Angel, never talk about Max, or Eyes Only, or any of those characters. So it was really odd that they tied together, but they are. And it's weird. And so you have to think that either the director, producer, or writers from Dark Angel were part of the project of making Hitman Agent 47. At least that's my idea, my plan. Now, Hitman itself is a good game, good story, good dialogue. A little while ago I talked about they should tie together Hitman and what? Tomb Raider. Tomb Raider, she's got these 2 guns she's always shooting everywhere. They've changed the game and the movies are all confused now. Just leave. I think it makes more sense to have a beautiful woman that's a rebel who's actually trying to find artifacts and things and likes to shoot guns, because usually people like to make any kind of woman weak and vulnerable, but she was already the first one in the video game market to do stuff, not unless you count Metroid. You know, my brother used to love Metroid, brag about how she's a girl at the end of the game, you know. But anyway, my whole thing is this, so I'm getting off topic a bit, but I talked about it. I talked about Hitman and Tomb Raider would be a good match as a team up or enemies, you know. And there's tons of ways to do it, because one's a treasure hunter and one is a hitman. Like, when do you not see hitmen going after treasure hunters and things like that? So I mean, it would be perfect. But anyway, the creator of Dark Angel actually was a big fan of the anime, you know, Battle Angel. So we didn't get that. We got it now, recently, and you know, as you know, the robot girl with the big eyes, and you know, her arms get ripped off, and that one dude dies. That's in all the movies. And I can't remember his name. That whole bar scene was cool when she fighting. But anyway, that's the whole thing. But he created an American version, which was Dark Angel, and turned into something different because he has the cloning, and then he had the mutants. And at the end of Dark Angel, you know, they break all free. Everyone, the mutants and everything, and Max is like their savior. And it ended short. But the thing about it is, one of the things where a show, and I hate this about shows, it'd be a good show, might not have a big fan base, or maybe it does, but for some reason the company says, oh, we gotta get rid of them, we don't like it. And so what it really is, when it comes to any show or movie, it's the fans versus the entertainment company versus the broadcast company, film company, whatever. They feel they're not getting enough ratings, they feel they're not getting enough views, or whatever it is. And then the fans were like, oh, we think this, we love this. But they cut it off because of their standards, their belief, and whoever was doing the Nielsen rating at the time, which is done because there's only a selected few that were doing Nielsen ratings. So those people, they didn't watch the show. That doesn't mean the rest of us wasn't. You know what I mean? And that's why the whole system's flawed. You know? So I mean, there's a lot of things people don't know. It's kind of like how people didn't watch the first Resident Evil in the movie theaters. But on the box office at home, you know, Blockbuster at the time, you know, they could take it home and watch it, DVDs, VHS, and just sit there and watch until they got so good. They said, hey, we might as well make them a sequel. And that's what they did. That's how we ended up with all these Resident Evil movies. I keep wanting to say Tomb Raider. But anyway, so other characters and things all came from Dark Angel. And Dark Angel was Jessica Alba's best. I'm sorry. Out of all her stuff with Jessica Alba I've seen, and I liked her in Sin City, but I have to say, Dark Angel and Idle Hand is the best. There's nothing else better than those two. Okay? I want to say, I don't know too much about Idle Hand, and I can't say you can bring Idle Hand back because I think it's best the way it is. It's original, you can't change it, and I'm tired of them changing every freaking thing that was good and trying to make a new one, swap people and sexes and all that crap. Okay? Just leave it the way it is. Like seriously, you're taking a prehistoric Harrison Ford and you're making him play Indiana Jones again. Like, that's ridiculous, man. I'm just saying, this doesn't make any sense. Okay, but my point is, this show was so good, and it competed with Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and it made Jessica Alba's future. I mean, I'm not gonna say that Fantastic Four, you know, the Fab Four wasn't good. Neither one of those movies, I'm not gonna say they're bad. Even though there's one in between with Michael B. Jordan that no one talks about. But that one, with Jessica Alba, both those two, I didn't even watch the movies for a while. And then when I found out about it, I was like, oh, Jessica Alba's in it. And she's what? Sue Storm? It made no sense. And Sue Richards. Oh yeah, no, she's Sue Storm. Well, Johnny Storm. But anyway, comic books crap again. But anyway, so my point is, it made no sense. So, what makes sense is her as Max, because she is a woman that played Max. All I'm saying is, because the future changed, so they can make a remake of this with heart. And when I say that, I mean because it was, when it ended, it had a post-dated future that we already went by. That, you know, you have to make the future further out now to make her show work, her whole thing work. Okay? And you have to find actors that's willing to do the mutant thing and so add up what was going to happen. I just don't like it when shows end and you can tell more of a story. And it's the same thing with Firefly. Firefly probably had a whole bunch of stories laid out through Joss Whedon and never happened. Especially the one where the episode where the girl's like, River's like, oh, 2x2, hands of blue, and they're all chasing them and stuff, and they're, you know, part of this weird ass company that they're running from. I forget the name of all that. But anyway, my point is bring back Dark Angel. Let's just get to the point. It's time to make a fresh Dark Angel, one that doesn't just last 2 seasons, one that's more thought out, more planned out, and one that doesn't have to compete with other stuff. And I'm sorry, I would have to say the channel I would want them to do it would be the WB. Without all that crap where they're putting all this politics and junk in it. That's the problem with everything nowadays. They're politics and everything, and they add too many characters, and they're just like adding too many paints to too many colors to a paint. Okay, that's the problem with shows and movies nowadays. But just try to follow the pattern of the old original and just add on to it to make it better. Like I said, Jessica Alba could be like you know, you can make it a new version, and you can make her character like mentor to other clones. Like it kept going after Dark Angel ended. And so like she's like the oldest clone that ever lived that doesn't die. And still talks about military operations through Manticore. It would be perfect. And you could bring back Jason Ackles and make him his character again. You know, like his character lived and somehow had a family or something. There's so many ways you can do this. But, so, this is what I'm talking about. This is the thing I'm saying. Bring back this cool show that had military trained clones. Okay, because the military stuff is cool. Okay, with the barcodes. And then here's how you tie some cool stuff in. You tie Agent 47 in by saying, oh, there's a different branch of the clones from through Manticore that we call agents, and they're hitmen. You know, and that explains why Hitman has the barcode, since Hitman originally took clips and scenes from Dark Angel Season 1. Okay? It would make so much sense. So much sense. And it'd be perfect. Okay? And I just believe this is something that should come back, and it'll be good entertainment for a new generation, especially, I guess, Z and whatever have never seen Dark Angel, unless their parents own it. But I'm just saying, that'd be perfect. And all these actors from the past, they get glorified again because they were the originals. And yeah, so that's pretty much all I have to say. Shout out to Jessica Alba, a great actress. Shout out to Jason Ackles. Shout out to the dude from freaking The Office that played Dwight. And the dude that played Eyes Only. Anybody that's cool that was on the show Dark Angel. And the whole military operation of clones. And it's like, yes. And so that's what I'm saying. And yeah. So anyway, thanks for watching. I have completely went everywhere with this. And I might have to add more to it because I might be missing some points. But right now, from where it stands, this has been my complaint and my desire to want to see a new Dark Angel. So, thank you. Peace out, homies. Word life. Solid Snake.